Hey, sports fans, PBC Sports Chaos. And guess what? Tonight's the ESPYs, and this is our version of the ESPYs, except a little cooler and funner. All right, PB, we're going to talk MLB. 5 things that we take away going into the All-Star break at the first half of the season, which, as you and I lamented the last few years, it's not the first half. They've already played like almost 90 games, right? So
I
how do
know,
you call
right?
it the halfway point, right? It's a
Not at all.
stretch run after this. But I want to ask you, a couple big things happened last week in the NHL free agency signing. Our Bruins, first of all, 2 big signings, Elias Lindholm, I believe is how you say that, and Nikita Zadorov. Both those guys were at one time Canucks, and then I forget what they got traded off to, or Calgary, and then they went to Canucks. These
Yeah.
guys is kind of did. One's a big forward, one's a big defenseman. Not only that, but they also drafted a 6'7" defenseman in the draft last week.
Yeah.
Do you think the Bruins made a big enough splash? Oh, and of course, they also lost the goalie that we talked about in our last show, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Lindholm,
Almar.
Alma. Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
Lindholm,
Almar.
Linus
Yeah.
Alma. Yeah.
That's Almar.
So,
Yep.
did they make enough of a splash, in your opinion, potentially, to maybe move this team back into a Stanley Cup contender position?
Yeah. Well, I like the forward Lindholm. He's going to be a top line pairing. He's going
He
to be
is.
first line. He'll be skating with Zaka for sure. I think that's a good move. Big defenseman can never hurt. Pair him with maybe like McAvoy or something. I mean, you got yourself some, a top pairing defensive group and a top line that's going to be, and not to mention, you're still going to have a solid second line with Marchand. I think Marchand's going to be paired with Coyle, and that's going to be a good line too. So you're going to have 2 top lines there that are going to be able to produce, I think. Um, I don't know. I'm feeling good about the team,
I
and
think they're a good move. I think they need to make them. I know people were a little bit disappointed by the trade for Almar because they didn't really get like a lot of quality back, but they did get a number 25 pick, which is that big defenseman they got. The Torno, I think is how you say that. A kid from this area. So we'll see. All right. The other one that shocked me though is the Predators. They
like
go out and get 2 Stanley Cup winning players. Steven Stamkos, who's like the all-time Tampa Bay Lightning player, right? I think he's an all-time leader in games, points, and goals, or something like that. And then they get
not just
from
all.
the Marchessault from the Vegas Knights, who was, if he wasn't the Conn Smythe, he was pretty close to it the year before when Vegas won the Stanley Cup. Does that make the Predators an instant contender?
Absolutely. I think that
It
team's done
does, huh?
everything. They were good this year. I went to a Predators game this year against Florida down here, and Nashville manhandled them. It was they they didn't even score. They shut them out. They shut out the Panthers. And I said, this team's got something going. And then they make these offseason moves. They were in the playoffs this year, right? So
Yep.
we know
Yep.
that they're a playoff caliber team. And then you add to that, I think they're a contending team next year. I think they'll be definitely in the Final Four in the West, if not in the Western Conference Finals with that roster.
Are you surprised Stamkos left Tampa Bay?
Timbers had a good run. I mean, you could almost call that a dynasty
Yeah,
going on
and
down
he's
there.
been there for over, what, 10, 12
They've,
years?
they've made the playoffs almost every year. They won 2 cups in a 3-year span, went to 3 cups in a row. I mean, that's pretty impressive in the NHL.
So they're kind of like the Rays. They just don't want to pay people anymore, right?
Yeah, kind of, right? Small markets. That's what small markets do to you.
Hey, by the way, we're going to get to MLB, but right now, Celtics have some big news. As we know, the ownership said we're selling out. We're going to sell out the team to a new owner. A lot of buzz in the Boston area, PB. I know you're not up here anymore. People are talking about could be a new owner coming in from out of state. Doesn't want to stay aligned to the Jacobs. They want their own stadium. Believe it or not, they're talking about a stadium maybe down in Braintree. So a lot of buzz going on about the Celtics right now with the ownership change. And then in the NBA Olympic teams, Kawhi Leonard gets on, Kawhi Leonard, right? Can't play again. And Derek White gets on the team, and Jaylen Brown came out and said something about that, thinking, I deserve to be there more than Derek. Is that going to be a factor going on into the season, you think? Or is it just Jalen being disappointed and made some, stupid comments?
Uh, Probably that. I
Okay. All
mean,
right.
yeah, I'm not going to put too much. I mean, I'm not in the middle of all hoopla around it like you are. So
My big that's a little bit of a thing, and we'll see if it boils over. But my bigger concern is what happens with the team and the ownership. I am a little bit worried about that. As long as they don't sell it to the Fenway Sports Group, that's all I don't want them to do because I don't want the cheap bastards coming in place. All right, speaking of cheap bastards, let's talk about MLB. 5 takeaways as we head into the All-Star break. I'll let you lead off. What's your first one?
Man, I got a lot of them, but let's start off with our home team, Red Sox, okay? Let's talk about the Red Sox because you and I both had the Red Sox going absolutely nowhere this year, probably finishing in last place.
Yes.
Here they are heading into the All-Star break, which we know is way past what normally is a midpoint. And they're looking pretty good. They have the wild card. They got 2 hot teams right on their tail. The Kansas City Royals, who have a good pitching staff and good bats. And then they got the Houston Astros, who you never can count out. They're only 2 games behind them. But they're only a couple games also behind like the Twins. So they could maybe jump the Twins and still stay in there with other teams. But I never expected this pitching staff to be sustain what they've done, and they have been sustainable.
That's the story, in my opinion. That's the story of the pitching staff.
That is, right? And even tonight, I think what's his name? Tanner Houck is on the mound again. He's been pitching lights out.
The All-Star.
He's been pitching lights out, and here he is. I think they were shutting out the A's last I looked tonight. So I've been watching them down here. I get Nesson, so I can watch them on Nesson.
Oh, nice.
And I've been watching the Sox a lot lately, more than I usually have. I didn't have that before, and I'm starting to like some of these guys on this team. They're fun to watch. Duran is impressing me at the top of the lineup. You get other like players who just have come around and done well, like Wong is an example.
Yes. Who, by the way, is the only guy from the Mookie trade that we can speak about positively, right?
Yeah, right, yeah. Rafaela has looked pretty good.
You said something about him in our preseason show. You said watch for him to make some noise. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's got speed. He's good defensively, but he can't hit. But he's hitting, and he's playing like this great defense. And he moved to the shortstop. He's an outfielder. He moved to shortstop, and he hasn't missed a beat, right?
Yeah, and he's hitting out of the 9-hole, which makes that even more valuable to be able to hit out of the 9-hole like he does. So, yeah, so that's my number one. That's my number one.
You know what? It's funny you say that. That's mine as well. I'm with you on the Durant thing because last year I was down with Durant. I mean, he had 2 bad years. Last year was the second bad year. And when he had that one game where there was a fly ball, he was in center field. He lost it in the shadows of a cloudy day. I don't know how you do that. And it fell behind him 6 feet. He didn't move. The right fielder had to come get the ball. And I was like, I'm done with this kid. So, apply, Jared, applause. I totally, you turned me around, brother. He's second in doubles with 24, I think it is. And he's first in triples with 10 in the league. And he's got 23, 24 stolen bases, which is second. So good. Congrats to him. Kudos to him.
Yep. Love him without lineup. So the next thing that comes to my mind, we'll talk about an ex-Red Sox player. Can we talk about the comeback season that Chris Sale is having? I mean, this guy, we thought he was done. We wrote him off. Yeah. Right. After, all the injuries and everything else. And we'll see if he can last the whole season. But right now he's got 11 wins, I think, and his ERA
12 wins. He's up to 12.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like, and you know what? On Atlanta, that's huge, especially considering Spencer Strider pitched 1 game this year, and then he's out for the season with Tommy John, right?
So and they also lost Acuna, which was their stud outfielder, right?
Right. So they're going to need guys like this that they didn't expect to do well, really step up and help this team. I mean, obviously they're going to make the playoffs. They lead the wild card race by a ton right now. I don't see them forfeiting that by any means. Philly's obviously tough too, but yeah. So I just think Chris Sale's season he's got to be comeback player of the year for sure.
By the way, do you think it's obvious to me that he would read the papers when he was up here? Because it's like he's saying this to Dan Shaughnessy. Shanks, F you. I'm a good player still. Because Shaughnessy used to rip him apart all the time. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. I got one for you. The Yankees. They were very torrid to start the season off. Extremely hot. All of a sudden, they went from the best record in baseball into going into June to now they have the worst record in the game since June 15th. Is this the real Yankees or the early part of the season, the real Yankees?
Well, just like I did last year, and it's not because I hate them. It's because I really thought there was too much ego and power and stuff going on in that team. But I did not pick them to make the playoffs last year, and they didn't. And I didn't pick them to make the playoffs again this year. And I, as the season was going on, I said, "Well, Paul, that was a bad pick. You got to figure they're going to get their act together." But now I'm feeling better about it. Now I'm like, this team
Okay.
could completely crash. There's still a lot of baseball to be played. It's unlikely that they won't make the playoffs, but hey, I love watching the Yankees lose. That's almost as exciting as watching the Red Sox win.
By the way, my preseason MVP in the AL is Juan Soto, and he's having a pretty good year. But the guy that's probably going to beat him for the MVP, if his pace keeps up, is his own teammate, Aaron Judge, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they got some bats, man. They're a scary lineup, no question about it.
All right, who else you got? What's your next one?
So my number three, let me talk about just some of the pitchers in this league. I just want to talk about pitching in general. I want to talk about some of the top pitchers in this league. I'm going to start with your Cy Young Award winner pick, which is Skubal for Detroit.
Right.
He's having a heck of a year.
He is. He
He's
is.
having a heck of a year. Detroit's got a nice little staff too. They got some nice. Flaherty is pitching very well for them. Reese Olson's pitching pretty well for them. They got some really good pitchers. I like what that team's doing. I picked them to win the Central. Don't think it's going to happen, but I could see those pieces coming together maybe next year for them. Another guy I want to talk about, Seth Lugo for Kansas City. Here's another guy I think that he can contend. He comes out of nowhere. He was with the Padres last year. Here's a guy who can come contend with Skubal, depending on the second half of the year goes, for that Cy Young Award winner. He's also got 11 wins. He's 11-3, ERA in the low twos. So he's impressing the heck out of me. And these, low market team. This is the type of guy that's probably going to pitch there for a year or two and maybe gone.
Right.
But I want to talk about another pitcher that was a rookie, came in halfway through the season, pitched 7 no-hit innings today, struck out 11. Paul Skeens for Pittsburgh.
Oh, yes.
This guy, I don't know if you've actually seen or watched a game of him pitching.
I watched him in LSU.
Oh, he is a dominant pitcher, man. This guy has got stuff. He's big. He's got a.
Not to mention he has a very hot girlfriend. But go ahead.
So it's the name Paul. That kind of goes with the name. But anyway,
got a mustache like him.
But I just another low market team. He's probably going to pitch there for a couple of years. He's going to get this huge deal from the Yankees or something like that, right? Or Dodgers, and he's going to go pitch for them. I can see that happening already. But here's just like Garrett Cole was a Pirate, right? And then he went to the Yankees. So I just. They're farm systems like the A's. The A's and the Pirates are like the farm systems for the rest of the league.
Major leagues. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, that's for sure.
But just the pitching in general, I think it's been impressive this year. He's got some really good guys out there. Some of them on teams.
Earlier, even the Red Sox pitchers have been very impressive, right?
And even the Red Sox pitchers.
Houck, right? So yeah.
So that's my other thing, just pitching in general. But I wanted to point out those 3 guys in particular: Skubal, Lugo, and Skeens.
And by the way, Skeens. We mentioned the All-Star game is next week. 32 first-time players, 4 rookies. Skeens is one of the rookies that's on the All-Star team this year.
Nice.
That's impressive. I got one. We talk. They're always being talked about every year. They started like dogs, and they're playing unbelievably lately. The cheating Stros. By the way, there will not be 2 teams out of the West. It's going to be the Stros. The Mariners will fade. That's my opinion at the end of the day. Mariners are leading that division, but the Stros are coming on. I think they're going to win the division once again.
Right. Okay. All right. My next one is going to be, we're right on target. I don't know if we both picked the same one or not, but I know I did. But we're right on target with our picks for the World Series this year. We had the Phillies and the Orioles right there. And look, there are 2 teams right now that you look at those lineups top to bottom, you look at those pitcher stats top to bottom. Right now, it's a fast track to the World Series with the Phillies and the Orioles, in my opinion. I think they can beat the teams like the Dodgers. Phillies just showed that they can with the last series that they played. So keep your eye on the Phillies, keep your eye on the Orioles. I think they're just going to continue to impress and take you to what will be the World Series this year.
By the way, I also had Phillies as my next one. They have 60 wins. That's the most in the league right now going into the All-Star break. There's 8 games over the Atlanta Braves, who are in second place. That's almost uncatchable in my opinion. And Schwab's, Kyle Schwarber, he 7-0 when he hits a lead-off home run in a game. That's 7 lead-off home runs and they win every one of those games. That's impressive. The only thing I worry about with those guys, Schwartz, and they just came off the IR or IL as they call it now. Schwartz and Harper, if they get injured, that hurts that team. But if they stay healthy, I'm with you.
Yeah, because I mean, you got Nola and Ranger Suarez at the top of that lineup, at the top of that pitching staff, and there's two other guys who are just really pitching
And
lights
Zach
out
Wheeler's
this year.
the third pitcher.
Yeah, right. And Zach Wheeler, who's hurt now, right? But they're like all double-digit win guys.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
you know that's
All right.
that's incredible.
All right,
Yeah.
give me your last one. What's your last one?
Oh man, I kind of doubled up on a few, so I'm kind of running out. But I mean,
I got one right now.
all
All
right.
right. For me, it's the Dodgers because with that lineup, when they're all healthy, Mookie's out right now, as we know. But when Mookie's healthy, 1 through 3, I don't think there's ever been the top 3 lineup in my life like that. First of all, they're all first ballot Hall of Famers, right? At this point in time, in my opinion. When you get Mookie, you got Shohei, and you get Freddie Freeman, right? So, and then Teoscar Hernandez, right? He's having an awesome year for them. They have a great lineup. The problem is every one of their best pitchers, starting pitchers, are hurt right now. If they can't get healthy, they're in trouble, in my opinion.
Yeah,
A healthy Dodgers would blow the league away, but I don't know if they can ever get healthy. That's my problem with them.
That's a good one. All right. I just thought of one. I got to give a plug, and I'm going to talk about probably one of the most exciting players and most dynamic players in the league to watch today, and that's Ellie De La Cruz.
Oh,
We haven't
good
haven't
point.
mentioned him yet, and that guy is he's fun to watch. It almost reminds me of like when Mookie Betts was playing for the Red Sox in his first few years when he was coming up, and how exciting he was because he could do everything on the field. And Ellie reminds me of that a little bit. I just love watching him play. The guy can steal bases like there's no tomorrow.
Oh,
And
he's so fast.
He can field. He's a great player. I just love watching him.
And what's most impressive about him, PB, is that he's like what 6'5", 6'6", something like he's like a giant out there, and he runs like a gazelle for crying out loud, right? It's unbelievable. All right. Well, looking forward to the second half. Looking forward to the All-Star game. Hey, real quick before we sign up, who do you got to win the home run contest?
Oh man. There's a couple of people in it for the first time this year, right?
Yeah, but you know what? I'm going with the polar bear. I love his enthusiasm for the All-Star, for the home run hitting contest. Pete Alonso, he loves to be in that contest. He's going for the record tying. If he wins it this year, tie with Ken Griffey Jr. third championship.
Yeah. And Teoscar's going to be in it this year, right?
Yeah. The other guy is I can't remember his name now, down in Texas, but he's going to be in it as well, and could be the 4th time that a guy playing in his home field wins the home run hit contest. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. And then we got go ahead.
We'll hit the next show talking some football as we get ready for this year's 2024 season, right?
Yeah. I just got my tickets for the preseason. They have a member day for the Dolphins, so you have to get, actually they're free, but you got to go in and make sure you get them. So I just got my tickets for that. I got my tickets for the in-stadium practice, and I got my tickets for the joint practice against the Falcons, which I'm looking forward to. So check out the on-field action, PB live on site for some Dolphins and Falcons preseason.
Hey, by the way, you know who I met live today? Mike Ruth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was at an event at a Chamber of Commerce thing, and I started talking, and I got introduced to him, and we were talking, and I said to him, I go, as great as you were in football, the best story I have about you is going to a store in my hometown we used to buy your meats from. And he remembered it. It was called the Produce Barn. He goes, yes, I love that place.
That's great. Yeah. But
right,
so we break down every division for you. So the next 8 weeks, we'll take a division every week. We'll break it down. We'll tell you what we think they're going to finish. And we're usually pretty good at that. We usually nail it. We're usually plus or minus a game or two.
We are, man. All right. ESPYs, you got nothing on us. Talk to you.